Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Kelly Williams and I am the proud dual hat wearer of today's event. I am representing the AMA, the American Marketing Association of Minnesota, as the Vice President of Programming. And the dual role that I have is I'm also the Fractional Chief Marketing Officer here at Celarity. So on behalf of both organizations, welcome and thank you for being here today. Here's our agenda. I think I checked off that first box, the welcome. I also have a couple of announcements that I'll get to in just a moment before I hand it over to our amazing presenters who are going to talk to you about bringing your authentic self to the business. I'm really excited for this conversation. I got a sneak peek last week where we talked about what they were going to say and really walked through the presentation. It's going to be stellar. So glad you guys are here. At the end, we are going to take some Q&A as well. So look for that, but a fun announcement in just a moment. We also are going to do some informal networking. So if you have not yet met a new person today, my goal for each and every one of you is that you meet someone that you've never talked to before. We've all been cramped up in our houses for the last almost 2 years. So use this opportunity. You've come out today, make sure you meet someone new, get a business card or connect on LinkedIn. Here's a little bit about the AMA. So memberships are now only $150 a year, which is less than the cost of maybe 2 coffees or 2 glasses of wine. It's a great organization and there's a lot of amazing perks that come along with it. I won't read all of these to you, but I will continue with my setup here as we get into additional announcements. And that best one yet is that we are going to go ahead and do what we say we do as a marketing company, and we're going to ask you to tweet at us. So each of you, please get out your phones right now. No, I'm serious. All of you get out your phones right now. Thank you. And if you can tweet at Celarity, this is where we actually have social media people in the room who are going to be responding to your questions, capturing those questions, and we're going to take those at the end as well. So taking the AMA hat off, putting my Celarity hat on, let's talk a little bit about our speakers. I'm really excited to introduce first Shane Rink. He has been with Celarity for about 9 months. He comes from the education field. He has a passion for helping people in their career and it really shines through it each and every day. Michelle May, on the other side, I love that they are sitting in front of their pictures. Don't they look nice and just like their pictures? Michelle's been with us for about 3 years and she worked her way up through Celarity, recently promoted within the last 6 months to recruiter. She's doing a phenomenal job. So really excited to hear from both of them today. So continuing with a little bit more about Celarity, we are a company with a mission of creating happy careers with meaningful connections. What that means to us is that we pride ourselves on connecting our clients with candidates who are excited and ready to work in their organizations. And we believe that through doing that, we truly create happy careers on both sides. For the client, the hiring manager, they have an opportunity to have an amazing team full of totally ready and excited, capable people ready to support their business. On the candidate side, we have this belief that we are able to connect people with their dream jobs that are going to fulfill them and bring them joy. And so we're really proud to create happy careers with meaningful connections. We are a marketing, creative, and digital staffing and recruiting agency. And what that means is we understand that there's a lot of overlap, but there's also some unique disciplines within our industry. And we do both recruiting and staffing for all 3 of those different disciplines. We have a lot of placements because we've been around for over 30 years. And if you look at the bottom at all of these amazing colors here, we proudly have won a lot of awards. And awards are fun, but the best part of awards is it gives us the access and the ability to have access to additional clients, additional opportunities, additional candidates, so we can continue to create additional happy, meaningful careers. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle.
Alrighty. Yeah, we're going to be touching on a few things today. Of course, how to bring your authentic self to the workplace. But beyond that, how do we include that in your resume? Because at the end of the day, your resume is an extension of who you are professionally. And beyond that, we'll be talking a little bit more about how to bring that to your online presence as well. So we'll kind of get a full snapshot of being authentic in a few different parts of your life.
Bringing your authentic self to the workplace. So that could be, your physical space on site, or it could be if you're working virtually or remotely, that's still the workplace. What is authenticity? Authenticity is not thoughtlessly adhering to every impulse, right? So our knee-jerk reactions, the first initial thoughts that we have in our minds when any given situation arises, it may be, laced with some emotion or something like that. What true authenticity is accepting both your core values and the reality and finding a way to honor those things that best serves you in the moment.
So I think the biggest thing is looking at what's important to you. I remember when I started at Celarity, I thought I had this very clear picture of like recruiters are these salespeople that push this job on you and just push you into whatever job they want you to take. And obviously that wasn't aligned with my values. I'm someone that really cares about like what is important to people, what do they want to do, and I'm talking about that all the time with candidates. So I think it's important to think about what your values are, because as I worked with Celarity more, I figured out like, oh, they actually care, like, is this person happy in their job, and like, do they want to stick it out and grow with a company? And I think that's important to figure out first what's important to you, because then when you're interviewing or you're working with whatever company you're at, you're able to say like, okay, what are my values? Like, what's misaligned, what's aligned, and like, how can we make this the best situation for all of us? So look at values, look at like where you want to be in your career, look at the work culture. Is that aligned with what makes you you and how you thrive? And if all of that is in check, you're going to be in a really good spot to be your authentic self.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Those are 6 great priorities to keep in mind. And what are you looking to get out of your career? So confirm, is marketing really for me? Ask, why am I showing up every day? Am I looking to make some industry connections? What am I ultimately looking for? So it takes some reflection, and it takes some quiet time with yourself to think about, but it's really important stuff that you don't just ask yourself once, but throughout every milestone in your career.
And I think a lot of it comes from like what motivates you and what type of support do you need to be the best version of yourself, not just to be yourself, but really be like who you want to be and live that every day. So look at like, what do you need from your manager? Like, do you need to have a one-on-one with them every week to really feel like you have the support and resources you need? Look at your team. Is it collaborative? Are you a little more heads down in your work? What's best for you? And at the end of the day, just find like what do you get fulfillment from? And if it's not what you're doing, then maybe it's time to look for something else. So I think those are all really big things to kind of take stock of. And if they're not where you want them to be, maybe it's time for a change.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Michelle. And finding a work environment that aligns with your authentic self. So look for a workplace with external qualities such as a firm awareness and acceptance of reality, thoughtfulness and understanding of others, egolessness and in the assessment of self and others, and a healthy sense of humor. So when I see those 4 things there, I think about that's actually what I really look for in my personal life too, my relationships with my friends and family and loved ones. So your workplace is going to be a little bit different, but when it comes to these items here, that's what you definitely want to search for.
And I think at the end of the day, authenticity is a little bit different for everyone. What I need is probably a little different from what Shane is looking for in a company. So at the end of the day, just think about like what's important to you when you're working with a team. What's important to you when you show up each day. And again, if it's not aligned, whether it's the work culture or it's the actual work you're doing, if that's not aligned with what you find meaning in, you're likely feeling a little bit of discomfort and you're likely not thriving as much as you could be. But I think, like Shane said, it takes a lot of self-reflection to really look at it and say, like, where is this discomfort coming from? And how am I showing up? And how do I want to be showing up?
And reconciling those differences from the past and the present. So think about the things, we're all kind of different generations in our life, but think about the things you learned growing up as a child. What kind of things did you experience as a child that don't translate into the work world? And how do you reconcile those differences? It's not an easy answer, but it's stuff that, again, requires more thought and reflection and observation on your part. And then when you aggregate all that together, that's where you can really make some sense of the things that you learned growing up from your role models to what's reality now for you in the workplace and in your personal life.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a big one for me, because growing up, I was always told that conflict was only a bad thing and that it wasn't really productive in any sense of the word. And I showed up at Celarity and they're like, in our meetings, we're gonna have healthy conflict. And I was like, that sounds not right. But at the end of the day, I think, it's really reconciling like what can you figure out and grow with. Like healthy conflict has been really good for me and it's shown me how to confront people. But at the same time, I think another person might look at healthy conflict and say like, that's not my place and that's not who I am. So it's looking at like what can you kind of mold and meld into and what's really like a stop, like that's not me and that's not gonna work for me. And we'll get into it a little more of how do we bring our authentic self to our resume too. I think it's, at the end of the day, it's the first thing a hiring manager or recruiter is gonna see. So it's important that you're shining through. And I think there's a lot of things that people consider to be like non-relevant items that go on a resume that at the end of the day, some people love to see it, some people don't. But I think it's important that you're really showcasing who you are right off the bat. I think about some people have volunteer experience that's really important to them. I know on my personal resume, I talk a lot about how I studied abroad and how that taught me differences in communication styles and it built up my confidence a lot. So it's something I highlight on my personal resume. So obviously you want it to be relevant, like you want there to be a reason you have it on your resume, but don't be too worried about putting things on there that don't feel like they're relevant because I think it'll lead to more connections than you realize.
Yeah, great points, Michelle. And dispelling myths about the resumes, do's and don'ts. So there's a lot of myths out there like there is with everything. So one myth is don't share too much of yourself on your resume. Actually do share specific things that are strongly aligned with your personal values and ethics because that's relevant because that's part of who you are and that's how you're going to show up. Another myth is don't include social media information on your resume. Absolutely include a link to your LinkedIn page because that's an opportunity for a hiring manager or somebody to take a look at your profile and get more information, actually see your photo, and kind of see you as a person. Another one is don't include volunteer work or passion projects on your resume. Actually do. Michelle alluded to it a little bit earlier. Definitely include those volunteer things that you've done. One example is you may have volunteered with the American Red Cross or the Big Brothers Big Sisters, and that person reviewing your resume may think, I've volunteered with them as well, and so you immediately have that common bond. So it's anything that you can do to stand yourself out and give yourself a little advantage and get the attention of a hiring manager.
Yeah, I feel like it makes you more than a piece of paper, which is, exactly what you want. And Shane kind of alluded to this already, but you really are the things you're most passionate about. That's what people want to hear about. When I talk to someone and they're explaining their job, a lot of times it's not something they feel really passionate about, and you can tell. But the second they start talking about a specific work experience or volunteer experience, that excitement and that passion shines through. And that's when you can really tell, like, this is what that person is about, and this is what value they're going to bring to my company. So I would never shy away from sharing something that you're passionate about because that's what's going to really build a connection and highlight who you are.
Another bonus tip, submit a brief candidate video of your authentic self and who you are. So we talked a little bit about it earlier, even having your LinkedIn page where they can see your profile picture. This is where the hiring manager or whoever's looking at you as a candidate for a position can see you're a flesh and blood person. Obviously, they know that already, but when they hear you talking and describing yourself and what's important to you and your qualifications, it's just going to resonate even more and help you stand out.
Yeah, it shines like 60 seconds of like permanent attention on you. So not a bad thing. And obviously we'll touch a little bit on how to bring your authentic self online, whether it be LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is, how do you show up on your online presence? Because I think a lot of people do notice that. So these are, it's a big list of things that you can kind of focus on building out on your profile. Obviously getting the basics of where did you go to school, getting a profile photo, having some sort of bio explaining what's important to you. That's, I think a no-brainer that a lot of people have built out already. Beyond that, touching on specific skills you have, LinkedIn only has so much space to build those things out. So putting it down in the skills section is going to be a big thing. And like we talked about earlier, like don't be afraid to brag about your accomplishments. Post about an award you won or post about a paper you won, if, where you're a subject matter expert on something. I think those things build out and really like emphasize like who you are and like what you value. So don't be afraid to share those.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Michelle. LinkedIn and your resume is no place to be humble. You definitely want to talk yourself up and not sell yourself short. Taking a look at that list, though, we've got bolded in some red font here, the things that are just must-haves. These are things that you absolutely need to have on your profile. Obviously, work experience probably being the most relevant thing. In your profile photo, that's another one I wanted to touch on. Again, a lot of people maybe are photo shy and don't feel comfortable putting a photo up there. It's worth your time and energy and effort to get some type of either professionally done photo or just well taken photo of you in a professional attire, just so that the person reviewing your profile knows, oh, this person actually cares. They're not just setting up a LinkedIn profile just for the heck of it. They actually are looking to network.
Yeah, and I feel like recommendations too is something that I really like to see. Number one, it's just fun to read like what people have said about someone else. But I've had connections where, you know, I was interviewing a specific person and I saw a recommendation from a friend of mine that was saying like, you know, Sarah's so great and she's awesome at doing like XYZ. But at the end of the day, like it means a lot when you see a connection is vouching for someone else, and it speaks very highly because it takes time to do those recommendations. So the fact that someone took, you know, a couple minutes to write something nice like that holds a lot more weight than I think a lot of people realize. And I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer, but obviously your post lasts forever. So don't be afraid to say things that are personal to you, but at the end of the day, make sure it's still consistent with a professional tone. It's appropriate for wherever you're posting it because it's gonna be online forever, whether you take it down or not.
Yeah, and posting and sharing professional versus personal. So sometimes the lines blur and people get confused about what they should and shouldn't post. You know, there's different social media platforms that kind of follow suit with that. So the things that I may post on either Instagram or Facebook are still things that I'm proud of and stand behind, but maybe it just doesn't follow the theme of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is more of a professional networking environment, but at the same time, if you're experiencing something that's relevant to how your personal life and your work life overlap, that might be an opportunity to put it on LinkedIn as well. You know, something like, for example, the rigors of being a parent and balancing a full-time job. That would be one thing that could go on either.
Definitely. I feel like a lot of people are feeling that right now. So it's nice to stay connected on stuff like that. And at the end of the day, there's not really like a hard science of like what's okay to post. It's really just like a self-check on what are you comfortable putting out into the world. But I think a lot of people are starting to see more of a mix of like personal and professional. Like Shane said, like people are talking about like it's hard being a parent, you know, whatever that means, and balancing that with work. Or it's hard working remote, and a lot of people are struggling with that. So just engaging with people and not just posting to like talk at people, but to actually like engage and have dialogue in the comments is totally encouraged, because I think that's what LinkedIn and all these other social media sites are all about. It's the connection. So don't be afraid to have that mix.
And what should be posted and what should be shared? Content. Share content from your employer and company's website. So think about it. We talked about it earlier. Celarity has a lot of these events that are coming up. We post those on LinkedIn and social media because we're promoting those events. So if you work for XYZ company and they're having a networking happy hour, that might be something that you want to post on your social media. Thought leadership pieces, things that are really thought-provoking, and talk about what your industry is into and what they're doing. Professional updates, so obviously any changes in your career, a new job, new occupation completely, or even just a job title change. And then just things about save, like mentions here, passions about saving the planet. Again, that's bleeding into your authentic self and the things that you're passionate about. Maybe some volunteer work, things that are good causes for humanity.
Yeah, definitely. And Celarity, of course, as a recruiting company, has some resources that are designed to help people that are looking for their next step. So obviously we have job postings. They're on our website, they're on our LinkedIn, they're on all sorts of social media platforms. So if you are looking, that's obviously a great place to start. Beyond that, we have an events calendar. Events are finally starting to trickle back. I feel like, it's fun to keep up with those and go and just meet new people and make new connections. We have a Scoop newsletter. It gives all sorts of tips and tricks. I know Beth, our video gal, helps us put together different kind of videos with tips and tricks on job seekers and what they can be doing. But beyond that, we have a lot of different resources for whatever you're looking to get answers for. So don't hesitate to reach out and take a peek if you're looking to see what else is out there.
Let's talk a little bit about upcoming events. So there's a couple of really great events coming up. On the Celarity side, we have a fantastic event next month. That's going to be our speed networking event in partnership with the Brand Lab. We're really excited about this long-standing relationship with the Brand Lab that's been extended into their new College and Beyond program, focused at people who have first graduated from from high school, all the way through 3 years post-graduation. The program is set up really to support these young adults as they transition into their career, and as they're first into their career, making sure they have the mentorship and support that they need to feel successful in their career. So the Speed Networking event is an opportunity for young adults within the College and Beyond program to come and meet with all of us, people that have been around and have been in our marketing, creative, or digital career for a little bit longer. And you don't have to feel like, gosh, I know everything to be a perfect person in the networking event, but instead feel like, yeah, I've been around a little bit and I can tell you some of the mistakes I've made. I can tell you some of the great things I've done and some of the in between. That's really the resource and what you can bring to the event. So if you have not yet signed up for the Speed Networking event, this is your personal invitation. Please join us. It's going to be virtual. It's going to be amazing. The AMA has an upcoming event as well. We have a happy hour scheduled for the first week in December. It'll be very similar to this, but there will be more alcohol and there will also be less talking outside of the one-on-one conversations. So both of these are great opportunities to connect with people, to reconnect with people. And this is your personal invitation. Please join me. I will be at both. I don't know if that's a selling point or a non-selling point, but either way, be warned, be excited. I don't know. Okay. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of the AMA and Celarity. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We appreciate it. Thank you.